There we go.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. What a week.
Friday.
I got my second vaccine today. Yesterday.
Good.
Second, yeah. I'm going to be a free woman 3 weeks later. I want to make a trip to Missoula.
How far is that for you?
Oh, like about 3 hours driving.
Ooh, one way?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because where are you right now, Yuji? Again, what town are you in?
Whitefish.
Oh, you're in Whitefish. Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is a very beautiful place.
Just kind of light on the vaccine.
Yeah.
We were asking how it went last week. Susan, what was your thoughts on the breakout? How did that go?
Oh, you mean for the Perfect Connections thing?
Yeah.
For doing this?
Mhm.
Well, Sarah was there. Lorraine, were you there? You were there, yeah. So I'll defer, and usually you were there. Yeah. So well, I'm really I thought it was fine. I mean, I was very low. You can tell I'm so burned out. But anyway, so I thought it was good. I mean, the breakout group that I joined, facilitated was part of or whatever, usually was there, and it was good. It was good. It was I don't remember what I know Melissa was there, Melissa from Albert Lee, and because she's been part of the group, I think she felt pretty comfortable just sort of the thing that she brought to the group was she's feeling challenged with low enrollment right now. And so we had a conversation around that. The downside was that Melissa's internet connection was really crappy. But one thing that I discovered, actually, that reminds me, one thing that I discovered was that the live transcription picks up your audio even in a bad connection. So it was kind of doubly beneficial, where because we couldn't hear her very well, it was still picking up what she was trying to say. And so at least we could kind of, like engage with her that way. And then as I was understanding, I was trying to put some things in chat to kind of let other people know. Yeah, so I thought it was okay. Sarah's here, and I know that, so let's first start with our little group, and then we'll move to Sarah, because she helped to facilitate one of the other groups. And that's what I'm especially curious, since I wasn't in the other groups, kind of how that conversation went and what you guys talked about. But usually you were in our group. What else did you think about our little breakout?
Oh, I mean, it was very good. I mean, of course, we had the challenge with Melissa's, the signal, right? But it was so fun, made it very fun. Technology, no one can do anything with that, right? So it's not anyone's fault. And yeah. I think, we really engaged the new members. You see, all the new ideas actually came from the new members. The market, the farmers market and, doctor office and all that, right? The ideas came from the new members. And I feel it was really engaging.
Great, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was a real benefit, and I hope, and we tried to, encourage everybody to talk and to, share their ideas and perspectives, and just kind of have the same experience that we do, and then Lorraine, were you part of our group, or were you in a different group? I'm trying to remember. Isn't that horrible?
I feel like I was in a different group. Sarah, were we in the same group? I remember the young man. There was a young man in our group
Okay, then you weren't in my group. Okay.
But I don't think you were in my group either then.
Okay.
Oh, good. Then we can hear from you. So we
There we
had
go.
3 groups, and yeah. So Lorraine, why don't you talk about what you remember from the group, and then Sarah, you can talk about your group.
Well, like the one young man, he was a young Hispanic man who is getting his parent ed license. And so he was putting himself out there as like a potential candidate, and then just talked about some of his challenges in the program, just being male and Hispanic. And so some of the kind of race things kind of bubbled up a little bit, but it seemed like the new people who asked questions, like they were just curious about how many people usually met together, and kind of, do we have a certain topic, and kind of, we kind of described it as like ECFE for parent educators. And that people seem to get that. But I thought that it was a nice way for like somebody like that who's looking for work, where it was that he got his, he got some questions answered, and I feel like I would want him in my program if I could, So that was kind of, those were my impressions.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Becca. We're talking about the MNAFEE conference, and we're starting with so late in this, we had our little Perfect Connections workshop breakout at the end. So we're just kind of debriefing on how that was. And Sarah, you facilitated a group. How did that go?
I did. And it was interesting because the prompt that you had offered before we went into breakout rooms was to think back on the last week, the last month, the last quarter, the last year. Well, I ended up, I'm sure this was totally accidental, in a breakout room where, so I haven't been with the school for the year. I mean, I've had a year, but I've been teaching, but I haven't been in school. But like 3 of the 6 are like haven't been working this last year. So it was like a little bit wispy. To be honest, facilitating the conversation, I was like, oh, this is like a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. Like I actually had to summon my skills. And it's Friday afternoon. I'm like, oh, God. Do you know what I mean? Because so for me personally, it was like, oh, this isn't just going to take off. Like, I'm sure most of the rooms were like, oh, well, let me tell you, and everyone was sort of fighting to share what came to mind when you offered that really beautiful prompt. I had stuff I could say, but many of the people who happened to land in the breakout room that I was facilitating were attending just, I think, more out of curiosity for like what the group is like and networking and, like looking forward. So to be honest, Susan, since you asked, I was so glad that Joy Walker, who's a former colleague of mine, was in the room with me, because she helped me, and we kind of, it worked, but it was like, oh my God, we have 10 more minutes. And had I given it like a flicker of preparation mentally before, which I did not, so sorry, I might have been ready with some other like threads to pull to like just coalesce around, but I wasn't. So I was unprepared. And then I was just assuming it would be like no big deal. And then it ended up feeling like, oh, we're crashing and burning. Like this isn't that. And like, so maybe the people in my group felt different, but it was kind of quiet. It was
I'm
one
sure
of those.
it was fine.
So it was fine, but it caught me flat-footed. So
well, honey, you're fine. I mean, also remember, so this was 11:30 at the end of, so if folks did engage from Wednesday evening and watched any sessions then, and then all day Thursday and staring, I mean, honestly, I have been so screened out that at the end of the day, I've been like laying on the couch just with stuff
Yes.
going in my head,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
or going out for a walk or something, because I just cannot tolerate staring at a screen anymore. So yeah. So oh, so Becca, I was just looking at your chat. Sam, Lily, Matt, Becca, and Jason, and I thought, when does Zoom allow you to like have lots of people talking at the same time?
I totally forgot I had that as my name still from a church thing, and the kids were all on here.
Becca Curring, yeah. Multiple personalities. So thanks. Yeah, I think overall it was, you know, I remain very happy that we had the opportunity to include it as part of MNAFEE, because it's in the spirit of connections, right, and professional connections. And I am hopeful that as we move through, you know, through that again, it's the spirit of having a professional learning community and having a safe space where people can join us and do all the stuff that we do, like an ECFE for professionals, right? And I continue to think that if MNAFEE is a place for that professional, like in-person connection, that would be a great space to continue to have, you know, conversation and debriefing and you know, sharing about workshops or doing whatever. So we'll just see, you know, what happens. But I'm glad that we did it. So let's talk about the other, the shoulder rubbing. I know. Who else would like? So I mean, that was just one session. So let's just open it up. I had the good opportunity of before then. My only thing that I have to contribute is I did the tech volunteer thing for the session before that on music therapy, and that was great. But I'll hold on to that and let you all speak. So, what else? What inspired you from MNAFEE?
I really, really liked Ann Garrity. I loved her. I have to say, I just loved her. She brought both sessions, the main one and the breakout. I have so many little nuggets from her and appreciated her so much. The second breakout, of course, could have directed to a specific event happening down in Brooklyn Center. And she was so good at generalizing, taking the specific and generalizing it so we could take it from there, as well as addressing briefly the specifics. And I thought that was fascinating to listen to and watch. I thought she did a beautiful job.
Do you have some of your nuggets in front of you that you can tell us? Any quotes or anything? I love her too, and I wasn't able to attend.
Oh, so she talked about perception. Okay, so I kind of went through and just highlighted the highlights. I love her talk about perceptions, and that we all come with our perceptions and we see from our perceptions. And so we don't come blank to anything. I love that. I love the mind is pattern seeking and meaning making, and what that then means to how we walk our days out. I loved that she talked about the memory systems being the implicit and the explicit parts, and how we do that, how that changes, and how we can help our children revise those memories. She, of course, talked about co-regulation. I love that the solution is mastery when we're talking about regulating, the mastery of it and the physicality of it, that we have to do something with that emotion or the trauma or what, you know, those pieces. That was so good. That was really, really yummy that we have to, it's about to do, you know, that we have, the child needs to decide what to do in those situations, and then doing something brings us. And she at the end referred back to that in this from the breakout, where she talked about time and about talking about that was there and this, and now we're here. This idea of bringing a child forward, bringing anybody into the next space, and validating the feelings of what that was, but now we're here. So not but you know what I'm saying there. And now we're here, and now what are we going to do, and what's the next thing? I really appreciated that. She talked about feelings, trigger attention, and attention and appraisal triggers action. And that's that system. That was in her breakout. I love that she partners MAD with another emotion. I've never thought about doing that. I loved that idea of bringing another emotion into MAD with the child. And so that was really, really good. A part of co-regulating and the arousal and those pieces. Yeah. Those were my little nuggets. They don't give you a lot of depth. But if you were there, maybe they like went, oh yeah, that's right. Or Carrie, because you've heard her before and you love her stuff, it maybe triggers something that she's taught you before that you use in parent ed. I don't know if you do. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I wrote down some of your things, and I know that when she speaks, she's one of those people where you can just grab onto a certain concept, like you said, that pairing an emotion with MAD, or I think you said mind is meaning making and pattern seeking, things like that. It's just really, really good to remember and just even reflect on, even if you didn't see her speak. So thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I stumbled upon a podcast that she did. I'm trying to find it. So Sarah Hardy, you said she has some really good stuff, because I had asked on the Facebook group about, I have so many parents talking about, is my child going to be traumatized from COVID? And she had this, I'm going to find it here shortly, but I'm going to do it while I'm talking. But she did a podcast. And then when I did a Google search for her and podcast, I found all these other podcasts. So I'm dropping them in the chat. Because what she talked about is about resilience, and as long as children are not neglected or abused, like as long as they have someone there for them, they're going to be fine. But it was just the way she said it. And I don't know that I honestly don't know that I've been aware of her before now, or maybe I just like found little nuggets of hers and I was like, yeah, I read this. But now that I know who she is, I'm just like, I want more. And I'm kind of disappointed I didn't get to go to her breakout, because my first breakout was canceled, but I was already signed up to help with that. The first one. So then I could have shifted it. If I'd have been in person, I could have shifted it and gone to that because of the way it worked out, but I was kind of locked in with what I was doing tech work for. Cause like, yeah.
Well, Ellen, you're always a person. I'm just saying.
You can go back and watch it. You know how they recorded it. I would really, if somebody didn't go there, I would recommend watching it. It was really.
Are they gonna do the recordings? I don't think they are.
I thought they. Okay, Becca, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that for people who attended the conference, all the sessions were recorded and will be available. So they might not be available for another week yet. I don't think everything.
That's okay. I don't care.
But that was my understanding. That at least for a couple months or something, everything would be available.
Yeah, all of our sessions, because we had to log in by the conference facilitator and not by ourselves. And for those of us that were assisting with sessions, then it immediately recorded to the cloud. And so I recorded on my own computer just as a backup, but they also had, so I think that, Ellen, I think what they're going to do is they'll have this big file of all the recordings, and then they're probably right now editing or cleaning them, making sure whatever, and then they'll release them out.
Okay. That's good to know, Sarah, because we did the last session, the facilitator had forgotten to put record. So hopefully that's the case. That was for Heather Klein's. It was accidentally forgotten. So hopefully, yay, that's good news. Because I know we pushed record in the ones that I was helping with. So good that there's a backup. That's great.
Greta, you are an amazing note taker. I saw you just like going down your list and I was like, wow, she writes really fast. I'll look at you. I know, and I was writing as fast as I could, but because I love Ann Garrity nuggets too. But I wondered, can you repeat the one you said about feelings? You said feelings trigger something and then something triggers something. And I couldn't get that one.
Yeah, so this is about regulation, comes with action, And so she said, she said, feelings trigger attention. And then our attention brings attention and appraisal. She put those two together, actually. So your emotions, feelings trigger attention, which attention and appraisal triggers our action. And
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, they asked to repeat that one actually too during the session. Someone's like, can you say that again? You know, asking.
Just put it in the chat. I'm not sure if it's right. Oh, Susan got it too. Feelings trigger attention. Okay, got it.
Yep, there it is.
I've been doing more reading about positive emotions, the Barbara Fredrickson stuff. And as I think about like this group, and I think about again, my real interest in social connections between individuals and what that means for their learning. And the four, and it kind of comes back to the purpose of emotions and sort of stimulating the vagus nerve and stimulating reflection and then behavioral action, and then the settings, right, that are conducive to the production of certain emotions. So that, for instance, joy can stimulate creativity, and a setting that is conducive for joy is a safe, trusted space where people feel comforted. And so anyway, so like in making all of those connections, it's just like, that's so cool. Of course, that all makes sense. Anyway, but so some of that stuff that Anne was mentioning kind of comes from that, at least from positive emotion literature, but I think from basic emotion research literature. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Another session.
Can I just ask a quick MNAFEE question? Because I was going through and looking at sessions and everything, and I was bummed because all the sessions I wanted to do were like at the same time. And then they never said in the MNAFEE registration that they were going to have this recorded and we could watch it again later. I just assumed you had to be there or you missed out. And I know Sarah put a comment in the chat too, but I was like, why didn't they tell us this beforehand? Like, and then I would have paid for it and then I could have probably watched it this week or next week, you know, like, why wasn't that something that was communicated? I guess I'm kind of bummed because I've missed MNAFEE now for 3 years and, you know, I would have jumped on the bandwagon this year if I would have known that. So I'm bummed. I'm really bummed.
Cinnamon, perhaps that's something that you could pay for after the fact. Like you could like, you know, like if you checked with Linda or one of the people who were like convening the thing, is to find out after the fact if the things are available as a MNAFEE member, you know, can you pay and then be able to see? Because I know their interest is income, you know? And certainly it's great continuing education. So that might be a possibility.
My understanding is that if you watch things asynchronously and weren't part of it, then there's no way that you can get continuing ed credits for it, but you could still benefit from it. So I would definitely pursue trying to see if you can get access to that.
Great. Other sessions people attended?
Can I just say one more thing Anne said that I didn't say? And then please come and just check in. One of the things she talked about is that feeling, that part where she said feelings can move. I love that for kids to be able to tell them, not that you should change your emotion, but that feelings can move and they can come and go. I love that. It feels concrete and more than feelings typically do. Like they can move, like, wow, they move, they can come and go. I'm sorry. I just think that I love more words to give to kids about feelings. So I'm done.
I love Ann Garrity too. And thank you for recapping her stuff. And even though I listened to it, I want to go back and re-listen. Not to salt the wound of folks who didn't realize they were going to be, the things were going to be recorded. And I do think they can probably buy your way into that retrospectively. But I listened to Katie Smith or watched Katie Smith. And she likes, like, was it you, Ellen, who said you hadn't heard of Aunt Garrity previously? Like, I didn't have any awareness of Katie Smith until this spring. And, you know, obviously I've been missing out because she's just a marvel. I mean, wow. And one of the things that I loved from her talk was her attention to grandparents and the loss of the year of grandparenting for grandparents. And the class idea she had, which I loved, was, you know, an opportunity to reconnect. What did she call it? What was the term? Did anybody hear it? The grandemic? Is that what it was? Anybody? I mean, it was just the phenomenon that grandparents who are lucky enough to have local access to their grandchildren have not. And in the world of early childhood, it's a lot. I mean, a lot changes in all kids over a year, but just the missing, you know, that she's experienced as a grandparent of her grandchildren who are very young. And so it was, I loved the reminder that, like, there's loss on all levels and all different ways for people. And the suggestion of doing a class to help grandparents, like, to have dedicated time to reconnect with their grandchild, and then also kind of readjust back and as they're reclaim their role as active, you know, involved grandparent over the COVID year too, right? Which is going to be another year of COVID, just a little different. So
Sarah,
loved
did
her.
she say what that connecting looks like? Because in 2020, or no, 2019, I started a grandparenting class. And then, no, it was the year before. Anyway, I've only done it for like 6 to 8 months, and it was awesome. And then COVID hit. And does she have more? Would it be worth going back and listening to what she had to say? Does she have more about how?
She had like a cute name for it and stuff, but she didn't have a lot of depth in terms of what it would look like and how free. I mean, I think probably like a weekly Saturday, I don't know, kind of thing, but
Okay.
not really. Just a seed. It was just a seed. Yep.
Thank you. Others? What else were you inspired by? Katie Smith is always inspiring. Others?
I went to the one on developmental affirmations, you know, just because I've used them before, but I was like, I want to get some new things. And what I took out of it, like what I'm going to do more than anything, is to take a Jenga set and you paint the Jenga set the colors of the developmental affirmations. So you start with the bottom ones, the ones that you tell the babies, and then and so color the Jenga set so that parents can see that these affirmations build on each other. And I was like, what a cool idea. And I have a Jenga set in my basement that's just sitting there waiting. So I'm going to be painting it. I'm just like, whoa, craft. But it's just kind of showing how if you take out some of those affirmations, and then I think we'll take them out and be like, if they don't get this, then the tower falls, you know, so.
Welcome to those of you who have joined us. Kelly, hi, Julia. We're talking about the MNAFEE conference and sharing inspirations from sessions that we attended. And some of us have just been scribbling little notes in the chat so you can see some of the things we've been talking about so far. Ellen and my daughter's roommate made an outdoor Jenga set. And that, like, it's super heavy, right? But with these big blocks, but I always love the idea of taking sort of common toys and games that we play all the time and using them for teaching purposes. So how great. Other sessions, other speakers that inspired you?
I went to Lindsay Hoskins, I think is how you pronounce it, from the Family Tree Clinic on parents as sex educators. And it was so good. And I just felt like it reinforced things that I knew, but gave some other samples. And then it got me digging into resources. And she had talked about a program called It's That Easy. That's from MDE. And like, it was on our shelf. I had it here. So I was like, oh, how so it's sometimes good to get you digging in the cupboards. And I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Cinnamon had said, is that the thought of attending 3 days of Zoom for MNAFEE, I was like, I can't do it. So I just went to one session when my teaching partner wasn't available, so I used hers. But if I would have known that I could spread it out, I would have asked, and my district, would have gladly paid for another attendance spot. So that might be something, if anybody's on MNAFEE leadership, just to, like, I think it's a selling point that, especially when it's all done over Zoom, that you could, parcel it out, because I just wasn't up for the whole full meal deal this time. Though I love now all these little pieces. I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted that, or oh yeah, I've heard of Anne, and oh, I could have listened to Katie again. I just couldn't listen to everybody all at once.
It was definitely a lot of Zoom. It was a lot I did Wednesday night through Friday afternoon, and it was a lot. But I also was at the Family Tree Clinic session, which I love, and I knew I would love. And Lindsay Hoskin had come to our ECFE when I was a parent in St. Paul. So I knew her, and every year I've had Family Tree Clinic come to once a year to my classes, except this year I have to do it myself. So even though I'm very familiar with their presentation, I was excited to be able to get one more brush up before I take on facilitating that conversation with my family group myself, instead of just handing it off to Family Tree Clinic.
How far does Family Tree go in terms of I think of people who might be watching this from outstate and other jurisdictions? Do you all know how far out they'll go? Because in St. Paul, I know they visit ECFE sessions quite a bit. Do you know how far out they'll travel for in-person stuff?
So I contacted a Family Tree because I just started the second second series of my classes this week. And one of the topic is parent sex educator. And I contacted Family Tree. They replied to me. They said they are willing to support me in Montana. However, my class is online class. I'm waiting for further, further like discussion how it can happen. They gave me the time is June. The open schedule is June 8th online session. So this is what I know.
Okay, great.
And that might be the best way to access, if you're outstate Minnesota, would be through a teleconference type presentation. I think that they do most of the metro region, but I'm not sure if they go much past, what they call it, the 7-county or whatever, like right around the Twin Cities. I'm not sure that they go further than that.
Part of the beauty of what they share is that kind of burst of confidence, like that we can do this, that like, even when I asked about like, where do we get more training or what did they recommend? They were kind of like, you can do it. Like they did. So
Julie, were you at the conference?
Yes, I was.
Were there any sessions you visited that particularly?
I liked listening to Ann Garrity. I had listened to her kind of at the beginning of the whole pandemic. And I really liked some of the things she said about what people are going through and how to address that with the kids. And then I too, our district did the district thing, and some of us had already said we didn't want to go too much, but then we were talking about, well, I kind of felt like we had to now. And then it turned out it was great because we all went to different ones, and then we were able to talk about it at our staff meeting. And so I went to a nature one that was good. I had been to one before, but I always like to hear again, kind of reinforce that outdoor play and the risky play. I think that was a new piece that they added this time and how important that is. And what other ones did I go to? I went to one multicultural one, and they were all good. And then I loved ending Friday in this group. That was that was a really nice way to end it.
Thanks, Julie. I'm glad that, yeah, I'd forgotten who all could. That's right, you were there. And were you in my breakout or are you in?
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I thought that went well. Like, Yuji had reminded me there were a lot of really wonderful, innovative ideas that were offered to Melissa about outreach. And yeah, I thought that was great. So you said you went to the one on nature, but the one on diverse cultures or multiculturalism, could you speak a little bit more about that one?
Yes, so it was a professor from St. Cloud State. And so she just, I saved all of her, or have all of her slides now, but she talked just about, just mostly about just being aware of things. And she had a lot of resources. So it's a good one to check out because she had a lot of resources in her chat. And she used the word milieu. She liked it because of what it meant. And I don't even remember what it meant, but it was it was a really good, when she explained it, I was like, oh, that really did tie it together. She just kind of reinforced a lot of the things that we've been hearing about how to talk to kids and about what's going on. So I liked it, but I guess not anything specific that stood out to me.
Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Were you able to go to MNAFEE?
I was not, nope.
Okay, good. So well, hopefully you're benefiting from hearing.
Yeah, I am taking notes.
One nice thing too this year that was different, I don't know how the powers that be made this happen, but all of our students in the parent and family ed program were given free registrations to MNAFEE. So that's more of that kind of bridge building that I hope can continue in the future. I get a little bit frustrated sometimes that higher ed and MNAFEE and MDE and the district, we're all kind of in these bubbles, and not better connected. So yeah, and so I think that having that, whether or not students were able to go or they could go for the whole thing or only part of it, again, it just encourages attendance and professional connections. And then hopefully next year, if we're back together in person. Oh, Carrie, do you want to talk about the conference you attended?
Oh, I was just bringing it up because of listening to so many people and their disappointment about, not knowing about recordings or all of that. And so I just was thinking about that. I did this conference in February, the Attachment Trauma Network. And by the way, I would have never been able to attend because it's a national conference, right? And my district doesn't pay to fly you out to things like that. So I jumped on that opportunity, which I hope continues after the pandemic, right? That you can do that and there's no hotel and meals and flight and time off work. So my district or my director did give me some leave to attend or to do some of the sessions, but it was only like 5 hours or something. So I was able to just do it all on my own. In fact, there's still a couple that I haven't even watched because it's available till the end of May. And the conference platform was just really cool and really easily user-friendly. And you did have to register for sessions ahead of time. So you would have to pay extra if you know, like someone was saying with MNAFEE, there were several sessions at one time that you wanted to attend. You don't get access to all of them. Like you would have to pay extra if you wanted to do add-ons, but you could do add-ons if you wanted to. And then you could choose live or recording, and both of those would issue a CEU because their conference platform could see that you watched it, or see that you watched it. You know what I mean? It would record your attendance. So yeah, just if anyone has MNAFEE connections, that might be a good model to look at for future for them.
Yeah, I'll be very interested going forward, you know, if this hybridization of our doing things and gathering continues, because we've gained some abilities, feeling more comfortable with screens and technologies and that sort of thing, and yet wanting to reconnect. So this understanding that there are going to be people who can't be there, can't come to St. Cloud, can't be in all sessions. And so if there, you know, there's some recording. But Gret, I totally get it, because I think there's going to be around privacy and licensing, and you show that Hyatt logo and you're going to have to pay for it. And so, yeah. Others?
I just put something in the chat. I don't even know where I found it. I think I found it on Instagram, but there's just this sort of self-paced parenting. It's aimed at parents, but I find that sometimes watching those is really helpful.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah. So I signed up for that. It's free, and I'm getting an email in my inbox every day, but you do have to register because they send you a passcode so that you can, but the speakers are phenomenal. If you look at that website and scroll down to the bottom, the topics are really good. The speakers are ones that I've heard of and seen before. The other one I'm going to put in the chat is Transforming Toddlerhood. She does a parenting summit in the summer, I think. I seem to recall. I was listening to and they're only available for 24 hours, which kind of stinks. But what I would do is bring my little phone over and I'd set it and record and hit it, so that there were some that I just couldn't listen to. But those are really good too. And they have about like Tina Payton Bryson did a thing, and I got some really nice nuggets from those. So there are 2 other virtual conferences that you can just keep. I would say Transforming Toddlerhood, you probably need to sign up for her email, which I love. It comes every week and she has really great stuff. But that parenting conference is really fantastic and free. You can pay more to have a lifelong access to the videos, but I'm very cheap. So.
One of the sessions that the one session that I attended, I was there in the lab. It wasn't just my brain. In the session before that I facilitated, that was great, was on music therapy. And oh darn, whatever the young woman's name was, she was very good. And my heart went out to her though, because I think she's done this a number of times, and you could just tell it was just absolutely killing her that she couldn't be in a room with her instruments, because she offered the kind of workshop that, you know, it's just like after about 20 minutes, your brain disconnects. But at that point, you're sitting there with a xylophone in your lap. So now you can start moving and start making noise and sort of learn that way. Anyway, I really liked it because it's she just reconnected about all of the powers that music can bring in terms of cognition and behavior and emotion and, all of that. And so she offered her slides had like the science of music and then incorporating it with what you teach with young children and bringing it into your classroom and interacting with children individually. And then, like I said, then she would hold up and she sang, and then, and she was talking about like simple songs, like the Barney cleanup song, right? Which I'm not going to sing, but she did beautifully. But just the power of like why those songs or Baby Shark, like why kids like those songs and sort of the repetition and things like that. And so she also pulled sort of that idea that we were drawing on before, like with Jenga, where you have simple concepts that you're very familiar with. And then she highlighted why they work, like why they stick with us, why they're important for young children's learning. So yeah, she was great. Like you were saying, Ellen, like you're in there and then you realize or you are reminded like all learning is wonderful. So I could have facilitated any of the sessions and it would have been great, but I especially like that one.
Susan, I think, is she a music therapist?
Yeah.
I don't remember her. I didn't look at that one because we had somebody in recently just before the pandemic that did a seminar for our staff. And I think somebody referenced that she's the gal who came in. So if you're interested, I think she goes and will do a staff training. She was excellent. If it's the same gal, long dark hair, kind of 28,
Yep.
maybe around there, maybe a little older.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I'll grab her name, Lucy, from the thing. I'll go look it up. Any other inspirations from MNAFEE this year? Or the other keynoters? I wasn't there for the keynotes besides, and then I always am sorry when I miss Ann Garrity because she's lovely. But other of the keynotes, did anybody sit in on those? Okay. Well, let's turn to you. Anything else about MNAFEE before we close that out? I'll connect with them this week on behalf of our group and see about accessing those recordings. That's what they're called.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, what?
Everybody, did anybody notice? I didn't, but I have been underwater. Was there an opportunity in MNAFEE to support parents to talk about race and skin color, to take that on as a topic in parent ed, to support PEs in that direction? I don't remember there being a section about that, but it's top of mind for me.
There wasn't. Okay. I really wish there had been because, yeah.
That's, that would have been a great thing would be a great thing to include next round.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be chatting about feedback, I don't know, has there been a feedback form to you guys? I'm sorry, haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I think it came out with the, like the next day maybe.
Sure. That's right.
Yeah. Our district, we just started this in ECFE, so 4 weeks now. So our spring session, we have one of our parent eds is teaching a class how to talk to your kids about race and racism. So, and it's been really popular with parents. So
where did is that Karen? Is Karen Zimmerman doing that?
No, I'm in 199. So I'm in Invergrove Heights and
that's right. You're not 196.
Yeah.
I would love to know where, like, where are they gathering that information? Like, where are they getting the majority of their info? Because right now I have a list that's 8 miles long.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where to even start.
Okay.
And I have that topic in a couple of weeks. So
Oh, really? Okay. I'll put her in touch with this group. So on this Monday, our legislators are coming to a Zoom in our district to meet with us. And so I'm going to be doing a circle time, and then the parents are going to talk to them about what ECFE has meant to them during the pandemic. And then she's going to go into her class and explain it, and they're going to be invited to stay to listen to the parent discussion. So, but yeah, I'm sure she would like to come, and share some of her resources. I think she might have come a few times way back at the beginning. So, but her name is Brenda Larson, and she has a lot of good information and a lot of good resources.
I've talked with Brenda and Shelley quite a bit because they've been part of Heather Klein's reflective dialogue. And I'm pretty sure that that's actually some of what she's using to talk about race and ethnicity. So using video clips and then reflective dialogue to open conversation in a slightly removed and direct way, so it's easier to talk about.
Yeah, and
which is what I'm planning to do in 2 weeks too. So
I have a curriculum that I use too, Ellen, and I'd be happy to talk to you or anybody about how I've set it up.
It's definitely the topic that we can't avoid, right? I used Netflix has a whole bunch of multicultural books that are read by different people, like Netflix Junior. And so I started the discussion with Ibram Kendi's Anti-Racist Baby. And, all of us love children's books. And I feel like it's a safer way to kind of get in to some of that. So that was at least a start, because I was pretty nervous about what kind of response I would get from families out here. But it actually went pretty well. I only had a little bit of kind of pushback from one family saying, but I want to be sure that my white child doesn't get looked down on, or that people think he didn't have to work for what he gets. And it was a little like, she's not quite getting it, but it's okay. Like, we're all where we are. So
we're planting seeds.
he was in the room. Yep.
Well, and
she was in the room.
Thank you. I didn't know that Netflix had that. My nerves went up a little bit because last night we have an evening class, and I was opening the door for for our families to come in because the door is locked after 4 o'clock. And they were coming in, and I saw one of my moms and her daughter out giving dad a hug, and dad was out there, and he's a state trooper. And I said, oh, how nice of him to stop by and say hi. She's like, well, we haven't seen him in 2 weeks because they were making him stay up in the cities. And Northfield is just south enough on the border of the metro that he had to stay up there. He couldn't come home after his 12-hour shift. He had to stay in a hotel. She's like, yeah, he was up there for all the protests. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh my God, now I have to do this topic, and I have a cop in my class. Like, I don't wanna.
A really real thing, Ellen, isn't it? I have a baby class with 2 moms, one has somebody who's in the National Guard as her husband and a firefighter, and they've been gone. It's real. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's nothing of this is easy. Mm-hmm.
And I have another mom, I've had her for years. Her husband retired. He was a Minneapolis cop, and he has PTSD from this summer, or from last spring, and he retired because he couldn't take it anymore. So that, yeah, I'm.
And Lorraine, that other mom, it's her perspective. Remember Anne's talk about it's perspective. It's what you come to it with, right? And you're honoring her perspective as along with providing more ideas and thoughts and ways to think of it and how to walk through and how feelings move and come and go. And yeah, really important work.
Yeah, and I had I mean, overall, people like thanked me for bringing it up because I said, you know, this is really hard and this has been a difficult time, but like, and then I likened it to any hard conversations that we had with the kids that, and used Lindsay Hoskins kind of thing where she said, just talk soon, talk more, kind of like you just, and that it will get easier for all of us if we kind of keep doing it.
And that's exactly how I'm approaching it with my classes. I'm bundling. Next week, we're talking about parents as sexuality educators, and then we're going to talk about race, racism, white privilege, how we talk with our kids about that, all within this kind of umbrella of having challenging conversations and how important it is to recognize that you're teaching them whether you intend to or not. So you better be purposeful about it because you're teaching them if you say nothing also. So,
and doing it imperfectly is better than doing nothing.
Yes. It's the planting seeds, like you had just said, right? It's opening doors. And that's what we do in classes. We're modeling for them. Guess what? This isn't comfortable for us either. And we model it. It's like, we're going to dive in anyway. And that's what you need to do with your kids.
I was just in a conversation with my mother-in-law whose career was in early childhood special education as a director and coordinator. And I think she'd be fine with me saying something. She said, I think what I've realized is the world isn't what I thought it was. And that's really hard. 70 years on this planet and the awareness level, she's always been very aware of families, and she's been very aware of families that have difficulty with children who have challenges. And I would never say that she was unaware of her environment. And she just recently said, I just am realizing this is not the world I thought it was. And so we're dealing again, I want to say, with perspectives and the length of time people have walked their lives out in one way of thinking about how the world is working. And now having to move that, it's a big ask. It's a big change. And she's, it just, to hear that from someone who's been here for 7 decades, doing really good work. She's kind of been my idol. It's tricky and it's hard, and I would never have, she was always talking about, she was one of those foregoers on how do we talk about children with special needs when they have a special need? Do we say someone with Down syndrome, or do we say someone, all of that, what was going on in the 80s and the 90s, was huge on, and is still coming to an awareness that the world is not necessarily always what we think it is, and it's different. So compassion for all who are moving through this, right? Anyway.
Well, and I'll just throw out it's one of the discussions with the George Floyd case has been, how much would the verdict have gone the way that it did if Darnella hadn't done the video, right? And so being close to your mother-in-law's age, Greta, a huge difference is the advent of the internet, of course, right? And so it exposes the underbelly of the world that we didn't believe existed, right? And then it not only magnifies it, but then it segregates, right, through this power of tribalism online and that sort of thing. And I have to see it as a force of good, because there's the whole thing about depression, for instance, about, women are more likely to have depression than men are. Well, it's not that women are more depressed than men, they just report it more, right? And so it's like, we know about, or child abuse, right? If we don't believe that child abuse really exists, because in our little world, in our little bubble, we don't see it, right? And we know all these wonderful families in the neighborhood, but we know as family people that if you get inside of people's homes, right, there is all kinds of horrible stuff going on. We may not label it child abuse, but it's not the stuff we see on the surface. And I have to believe in my own optimistic nature. The internet's not going away. It's still there. It's gonna be, I'm reading this book now called The Good Ancestor, about looking forward and long-term thinking and preparing our society for the future. And I just have to believe that, no, this isn't the world that I thought it was, but maybe it's the world that has long been there, and that we're just more, it's just more exposed, right? There are more communication channels for us to see how bad it really is. And maybe now, like with taking a video of a white cop murdering a black man on the street, right? And then the power of social engagement online that would get people together and talking and empowered, that it will be a force eventually for change.
It kind of reminds me, this morning I just caught a snippet of something that Oprah Winfrey put out recently, and she was talking about integrity. I don't know if anybody has heard this or anything, but the idea of integrity is something like, think of it as the airplane, that they go through this checklist to make sure everything is operating together, and that if we want to make sure everything's working and making its part and it's good, it's doing what it should, and in ourselves. So for self-integrity, when we do a system check, are all parts working together? Is there something that's not aligned or something that's not working, right? And they said, when we're not in integrity, personal integrity, and something's out of whack, that it doesn't mean the plane's gonna come down, but it does mean we have a bumpier ride in life. And I thought that was a beautiful metaphor. It could be, you could put it into family systems, a family of integrity. When you walk through things and things are working and aligned and integrous, is that the right word? Then we have a much smoother ride. We get to where we need to go. The more things that are not in integrity working in it, then the more likelihood that we're going to crash, or we're going to at least have a bumpy ride, right? Wherever you are in that place. And I think that that's what my mother-in-law is experiencing, is that her world was thought to be in an order, and she's realized through social media and all of the internet, right, that it really is a lot of things are out of line, and now all of a sudden the integrity of what she thought is it's jumbled, right, or whatever, however you'd want to say that. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting way to look at integrity, because I think righteousness, or doing things well, or being true to truth. I'm like, no, this sounds, I like this better. I don't know why. But.
Where did you say you heard that, Greta?
Oprah Winfrey podcast. I listen to once in a while. I don't get to it very often. It could be like several weeks old, but something she put out recently on integrity. I can, it's not my phone.
I'm looking in my podcasts here.
Yeah. Well, and I like that combination of integrity with everything.
You're much faster than. Say that again. I didn't quite hear that last part.
Oh yeah, and I know we're kind of freezing and the weather's bad. Is just that combination of integrity and then having a systems check, right? To find where those gaps are, that need to be addressed. And yeah, that it is hand in hand, and it fits beautifully with the stuff we teach about and we know about family systems. So gosh, everybody, this has been fabulous. Thank you so much for another wonderful time together. I really was looking forward, I look forward to it all the time, but I especially was looking forward to it this week to catch up on how MNAFEE went and share all of that. So I'll get this out there. And then we'll meet again next week. And whatever that day is, the 29th or the 30th or something like that. So yeah, I am pulling together a survey for to look at post, like end of the year and how things have gone. And so that will be, so keep your thoughts coming to me if you have burning questions that you'd like to see asked, but I'm working on that to get that out, the first week in May. So, and then having a nice team to do some nice qualitative work on it and be inspired by what we learn. So, well, thank you everybody again. Have a fabulous weekend. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you, Susan.